What's up, everybody? I haven't made a video in a minute, and so I want to keep feeding the algorithm to hopefully get more discoverability and traction, and get more subscribers. Trying to get to 1,000. Always going to keep talking about physical fitness, mental health, emotional stability, spiritual satisfaction, and financial independence. That remains my focus. Camera's moving around a little bit, and I had a good thought today that I want to share with y'all. So it's as simple as this. Nobody owes you anything. Anything. Even if you deserve those things. So what do I mean? I had a big debate with my partner today. Not my romantic partner, but my partner at work. And it was interesting because we thought through what you do when somebody doesn't give you the respect that you deserve. And, deserve. And then what I came to understand as I kind of listened to myself articulate my point of view, that is, the only real way to be an adult is to understand that every bit of your behavior is voluntary. Because anything that is coerced or demanded or forced is under duress, is tantamount to torture. You make your decisions. Nobody makes them for you. And so, if somebody disrespects you, walk away. If somebody doesn't give you what you negotiated with them to receive, don't do business with that person. If somebody doesn't treat you the way that you want to be treated, stick up for yourself, right? What you don't do as a mature adult is get upset when people don't meet your expectations. That is a fool's errand. It's a road to frustration and bitter disappointment. Nobody is ever going to meet your expectations. People aren't always going to meet your agreed upon, set of criteria. You have to understand in life, to maintain mental health, among other things, is that you cannot control other people's behavior. You're ahead of the game if you can even control your own, because the reality of it is the limbic system, the emotional, reptilian brain, is often much more in control of our behavior than is our rational, frontal cortex. So just let go of the expectation of others' behavior and understand that you're kicking butt if you can just meet your own expectations. We're not our own tyrants. We're not slaves to our own expectations. We're creatures. We're animals. We have competing impulses to dictate our behavior patterns, and the well-integrated, mature adult can forego immediate, pleasure and gratification for, what is the long game, long-term goals. And that's hard. And, start there, right? Focus on one's own behavior, words, thoughts, deeds, and meeting one's own, agreements and promises and expectations. Forget about everybody else. Do your best to treat others how you want to be treated, but don't expect them to appreciate it. Don't expect them to respect it. Don't expect others to do anything. They're going to do what they're going to do. And the quicker that we realize that others' behavior is out of our control, the sooner that we are free to do what we need to do, Because if you're caught in the trap of the drama of the difference between your expected reality and actual reality, your expectations of reality are never going to line perfectly up with ground truth reality. We all run a simulation of the external world internally. And when things happen that we're not expecting, or, somebody behaves in a way that we wouldn't like or don't agree with, then that can cause personal strife. But the the solution to that is simple, and it's kind of a Buddhist angle, and that is give up expectation, give up desire. What you ought to desire. That's the Buddhist philosophy. It's just kind of let it go, let it be. Everything is cool. Be the dude. The Lebowski, character, and then you won't ever be upset. But I would go one step further and say something like, desire that which is admirable of yourself, not anybody else. Communicate your desires to others that you're willing to enter into voluntary agreement with, your partner, your spouse, your business, associates, your friends, right? Negotiate, behavior, right? Come up with rules of games that you're willing to play with others. But don't have desires based on other people's behavior. Accept that all that is outside of the self is some sort of sentient creature that is not one's own self, and that it's going to interact with us of its own accord. And what that does is it frees the individual, the self, up to be true to the self. Like there's a sort of autonomy, sovereignty, personal power that comes from relinquishing expectations of others and instead emboldening the authenticity of the self. And that's scary and difficult. And when you shine your light, you might cast shadows, right? But it's the only real way to be happy and fulfilled in life. Is you got to be true to yourself. You got to make decisions for your own future and then follow through. And it's bitter people that don't have the capacity to follow through. And maybe it's frustration with others, or blaming, or self destruction. And a lot of that comes from focusing on others and not the self. So anyway, just wanted to share that thought. I think it's interesting enough to put out there. Mental health, physical fitness, emotional stability, spiritual satisfaction, and financial independence comes from making the right decisions in one's own life and focusing on what you can control. And there is one thing that you can control in your life, and that is your behavior. Can't control anybody else. Good luck trying. It's a waste of your time. But it is not a waste of your time. It is absolutely worthwhile to focus on making good decisions, speaking your mind authentically, truthfully, to the best of your ability, without apology, and following through and letting the chips fall as they may, and leaving the rest up to God. Letting there be some operator outside of the self that will fulfill karmic law, right? At the end of the day, you got to just have the trust in the world and love and just powers beyond our self. And I think that we dance in harmony with those things when we are integrated as an individual, such that we are accountable to ourselves. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you very much. I'll keep the content coming. Love you.